Good evening, and great to see you all here again on our Transformational Tuesday. So today we have Linda Macklin with us. It's my pleasure to, give me a second. It's my pleasure to host her today. And I'm taking this opportunity to introduce her to all of you. She is an award-winning master coach and founder of the Leadership Works, specializing in coach training, executive coaching, and gender intelligence. And she works across the globe, almost all the areas, Middle East, Europe, Africa, US, South America. Though when you really look at her address, she's based out of two beautiful countries, which is UAE and Ireland. She is an accredited master certified coach and a licensed facilitator for a range of psychometrics. She's also a serving board member of ICF Board of Directors, and she has been awarded the Coach of the Year and the Mentor Coach of the Year. So an accomplished woman she is. She has authored 2 books on leadership and change, and an engaging conference speaker on coaching and leading. She's also a Reiki master beyond coaching and an avid traveler, something we have in common, Linda, definitely. In today's session, today she's going to talk about the journey to coach mastery, and she's going to share her own continuous journey to mastery and as a mentor coach offer tips and techniques to others following this path. She'll also do a deep dive into the new core competency 2, which is coaching mindset. And she will also be sharing on how to work with mentor coaches and supervisors, and eventually going to link this with the mastery of core competency 5, which is maintains presence. And she'll also be talking about the role of mindfulness in achieving the mastery. So with this, I once again welcome Linda on behalf of CTA family. And over to you, Linda.
Thank you so much for that great introduction. I feel very important and very welcome. Thank you.
Yes, you are. Thank you.
And always great to have this opportunity to connect with my fellow coaches. We're a wonderful tribe, a global tribe, and especially those of us affiliated with ICF. It has been a great bond, particularly through the pandemic, I find. So thank you for the invitation today. And just so that you know, I'm speaking to you from the UAE, and I'm up in Ras Al Khaimah, and I'm in my home office here looking at my window at the sea. I can see the beautiful sea. So just so that you have an idea of where I am. And as Ritu said in her introduction, this will be a talk maybe in 3 sections. I want to or maybe 4 actually, just want to share a little bit of ICF research with you that'll kind of provide the context of the webinar today. I then want to move into, what is mastery and what is the road to mastery. In that, I also want to talk about my own experience of going for MCC and sharing that with you. And I also have a couple of audios of me coaching clients, and I might offer those. I hope we'll have time. They're short excerpts, but again, I think it might stimulate thinking around presence and around mastery and what it is. So I don't need to introduce myself. That's all been said and done. So let me share a couple of stats with you. You know, the ICF conducts a global coaching study every 4 years. Our last one was just published 2020, just before the pandemic, in fact. And we're the only body that does a global coaching study. And I think all the indicators are that coaching is growing and even has grown further during the pandemic. I'll tell you that story in a minute. But just to know that our profession is worth, $2.84 billion a year. So we're part of a growing industry. And that's a 21% increase on when the study was done last in 2016. Currently, they estimate there is 90,000 coaches worldwide, and 71,000 of those are deemed to be professional coaches, people like you and me who work as external and internal coaches and do it more or less as the day job. The remaining portion of the 90,000 are managers and leaders who use coaching skills as part of their leadership role, but don't offer coaching services. The number of professional coaches has gone up 33% in the last 4 years. And actually the biggest trend is the number of managers and leaders using coaching skills. That's up about 38%. And they reckon it will have doubled by the time we do our next coaching study. So we've a record growth in ICF membership. As Rilu said, I sit on the global board of directors, and pandemic was a scary time for everyone, but we were also worried about, would people want to join the association, maintain their membership with us? And just to tell you that we are attracting at the moment 1,300 new members a month, which is way over our target of about 850. And we've done that consistently over the last 18 months. And we have a retention rate of existing members of about 83%, which is breaking all records. So just say that to you, so you get the message that the industry is growing, it's thriving. And I actually believe the more members we have, the more coaches we have. I don't see this as a threat at all. I see that there is strength in numbers, because the bigger we are as a membership, and our actual 5-year target is to have 100,000. We currently have 48,000. In the next 5 years, we want to have 100,000 members. And I think that gives us more reach, more visibility, etc. So in that recent study that I've referenced, you know, the big thing is credentialing. That people recognize that to maintain credibility, to maintain a high quality service, that credential coaches are the way to go. So I think that's by way of context for what I'm going to be talking about today. The need to professionalize ourselves and always stay ahead of that curve. Again, people were asked, did they view coaching as a profession, a skill set, or an industry? And most very, very highly recognize it as a profession. And I think when we call ourselves a profession, there is the corollary of that a profession is around excellence. It's around maintaining standards, because some of you in your other day jobs could be accountants, lawyers, medics, whatever. And you know that you have to maintain those qualifications as a professional. And we're doing exactly the same as that when we seek mastery. And again, what we're seeing is that coaching is only 25 years old. It's still quite a young profession. You know, when you think, actually, I think the ICF is 26 years old this year. But more and more, a higher percentage globally of those numbers, of those members, have been in the business 5+ years, with growing numbers who've been 10 years and more. And again, I think when we think about mastery, there is a link to longevity in the profession, and to kind of honing your craft, not just through time, of course, but through development. But time and having that longevity is important. So how might we define mastery? You know, some people may see it just as getting that badge, you know, and I remember the very proud moment myself in 2017 when I got that badge after many, many years of striving. So it is an indicator, but it's never an end in itself. I think mastery, and I want to talk about this to you today, is a much larger concept. It's a much larger concept than just a qualification or a title, or length of experience, or even your expertise. It really is a kind of never-ending skill set, a never-ending mindset of wanting to be better, of wanting to fulfill yourself, of wanting to actualize, of recognizing pure potential and stepping into that. So while mastery as a journey sounds a bit of a cliche, but that is really what it is. Now, I should say I'm open to taking questions throughout the presentation. So please pop any questions into the chat function. And I know the TA folks are monitoring that and will interrupt me with any comments. So, you know, I mean, typically the journey to mastery is made up of a number of things. And the first is the number of hours of practice. Now, we know that for the ICF credentials, they have been set at certain, excuse me, certain benchmarks. And for mastery, it is 2,500 hours of practice. Now, when you look at the literature on what mastery is, most professions would say 10,000 hours is what is required to be truly a master and to feel that you really are in flow when you're working, that, you know, it's almost intuitive. You're not thinking. It's sort of unconscious competence, I suppose. It is around the quest for knowledge about our profession, knowledge about our competencies, knowledge around the underpinning psychology, and other disciplines like neuroscience. There is so much emerging right now. And I think the neurosciences in particular are informing how coaching is going to emerge. And I think we also have to keep an eye on the artificial intelligence work that's coming out in research. Reflection on practice, continuous reflective practice, and I'm going to talk to that a bit more, key to mastery. That is the never-ending part. And also that we stretch ourselves and have a wide range of clients, not sticking perhaps to one niche, a niche where we're comfortable, but rather spreading our wings and actually global. And another upside of the downside of the pandemic, if you like, is that everybody's online. So the market for coaching has never been broader, and the opportunity for you to step into mastery is there because you can challenge yourself by working cross-culturally. And I'm a big fan of cross-cultural coaching because I think you learn an awful lot about yourself and you learn an awful lot about other people when you coach outside of your own culture. And those of us based here in the UAE really have a unique opportunity, you know, coming from Ireland as I did, and Ireland is only a small country of 5 million people, and most people kind of look and sound like me. So when I came here to the UAE, I felt that was a wonderful moment of learning and kind of kickstarting the mastery route for me. Now, my own journey to MCC, as I say, I got my MCC around this time in 2017, and I've just successfully got my first renewal after 3 years. So again, it never ends because once we achieve something, we have to renew. And we know that we need to have at least 40 core competencies, our CCEs, to renew. Now, I would say my journey took longer than expected. I had been coaching, and I often call myself an accidental coach. I'd been coaching for probably 20 years now. And how I got into it originally back home in Ireland was I did a lot of customized leadership development with very senior public servants. That was my main niche, and led flagship national programs there. And part of that leadership development offering was doing 360-degree assessment, and part of it was giving the feedback of that to the senior leaders and then coaching them based on that feedback. So I just had that exposure to coaching as part of my leadership development work and really saw the value in coaching in terms of what it can do for senior leaders in particular, because of the confidentiality, because it's highly customized for their needs, and that set me off. So once I then sought my training, got my PCC, and then felt it was time to turn to MCC. And I will be honest and say, initially, when I set myself the goal to get MCC, I was in a bit of a transactional mindset. I just thought I'd love to apply for that and get it. And I said, oh, well, that should take me 9 months or so. Well, actually, how humble had I to become, because it actually took me 3 years. And it took me 3 years because I actually found it was so developmental. I didn't really want the journey to end. And I took the opportunity to work with 4 different mentor coaches from right around the world. And there were 4 different, very different coaches with different styles. I learned so much from each of them. Each of them shaped me. And what I found was that I had to unlearn almost everything I had done at PCC level, the things that had served me, the things that maybe had created me as a coach and had won me clients. I then, in my mastery journey, began to question a lot of that. It wasn't that it was wrong, but to move to the next level, I had to reinvent myself. And that was very, very scary. And that's why I say it was much more vulnerable than I ever expected, because you open yourself up to review by a peer when you work with a mentor coach. You know, because for most of us, coaching is such a personal thing. We are doing it, it's us. We are the tool, we are the instrument as coaches. It's ourself, our essence, our awareness, our psyche is the tool. So when we submit to a peer mentor for review, it can be very, very humbling. And, you know, to take the feedback and be open to the feedback and to dig deep, you know, typically, you know, you have to do 10 hours of mentor coaching. I would say I did over 20. And I did countless recordings. Some I didn't submit to a mentor. I kind of vetoed them out myself. But I really felt the process of recording myself, listening to myself, doing the transcripts, giving them to a mentor coach. The richness was amazing. And funnily enough, I just started with a new mentee today, and she had sent me her recording before our call. And when we opened up the call, she said to me, oh my goodness, I feel so nervous. I feel so nervous. I feel like I've sent you my homework and I don't know if I'm going to get the pass grade or not. And again, I think as coaches, it's great to feel that vulnerability, because it models what we're asking our own clients to do, to step into their own greatness. So that's just a bit about me and what I learned along the way. Now, let me just focus a bit on coaching mindset. I love this new core competency. As you know, it was offered to us about nearly 2 years ago now, when the new 8 core competency structure was updated. And coaching mindset is really all about continuous growth. It's all about self-reflection, self-awareness, and self-regulation. Because when you look at it there, and the definition develops and maintains a mindset that is open, curious, flexible, and client-centered. Beautiful. All those points that I've highlighted in the white text are all about how you are tuning your instrument. If I think of yourself as the piano or the violin, you've got to keep yourself in peak condition so that you can be the best service to your client. So ongoing learning and development, ongoing reflective practice, tapping into that intuition, and that really only comes when we're truly present. The ability to regulate emotion, your own and strong emotion in other people. How do we react to strong and varying emotions in others? How do we prepare ourselves for sessions? How do we have that self-care approach? How do we psych ourselves up and pace ourselves? And how at times when we need help, and everybody's had a hard time the last 2 years, many of us may need help ourselves in terms of therapy or counseling or other help? And are we open to receiving that? So I like to say, in terms of our own reflective practice and the ongoing journey to mastery. Now, whether you're aiming for MCC, maybe you're aiming for ACC, maybe you're aiming for PCC, I still think there's elements of mastery at every level. It's not just for the top. You know, it's every day in every way. We want to remember what we used to say, I'm getting better and better. And that's what really this concept of mastery is. So here are the 4 ways that we will find our way to mastery. And the first is through mentor coaching, which is a requirement for all credential applications. And I think finding the right mentor coach is key. So first of all, there has to be chemistry, just like there would be chemistry between a client and a coach. Between the mentor coach and the mentee, really chemistry. Is this somebody you trust? Is this somebody who is going to be able to have a laugh with you? Is this somebody that you feel you can be vulnerable in front of? Is this somebody who, you know, is going to be your partner, will buddy with you on this route? I actually really recommend working with more than one mentor coach. And typically for mastery level, especially, I offer packages of 5 hours rather than the whole 10, because I don't want people just to work with me. I really do encourage all mentees to have a range of inputs. And one thing I think does help, I learned this myself, that I worked with 4 different mentors, and 2 of them had been trained ICF assessors for PCC and MCC. And I felt that gave them the edge because they understood the markers better. They had a better intuitive sense of standard. Now, we know for MCC in particular, there isn't a definitive standard out there. There's still a kind of a sense that mastery at this level is an art form. They are looking for certain things, but it's not formulaic. But I think working with someone who has done the marker training is a plus. I think also someone that has a very active coaching practice that isn't just a mentor coach or a coach trainer, which I am myself, but I also maintain an active practice in the real world, because I think that hones your skill. You know, the fact that you're out there, that you're still with clients, you're kind of bringing that experience into the relationship. And you want someone who's going to be your cheerleader, who'll pick you up when you feel defeated, when you think, darn, there's another tape that didn't make it. You've got to be able to frame it, well, there was great learning in that, and I can do it again. And someone that's really going to be brutally honest with you. I think one of my 4 mentors I felt was too kind. Too encouraging, if that's possible. I felt that I got more perhaps from those who were very, very, you know, this is how it is, this worked, this didn't. And I also think, and in terms of coaching mindset, going back to that, I think people that have worked internationally or globally or cross-culturally add something to the mentoring relationship. So when you're choosing mentors, they're just some ideas I would put out to you. Now, how do you use your mentor to best effect? My way, the best value you get is to tape yourself, find clients that are willing to be taped, tape yourself, listen to that tape, decide, is it worth sending to a mentor? Send it to your mentor, because the feedback, you know, as coaches, most of the time we work alone. So it's very hard to benchmark yourself to know how you're doing. Sorry, just checking the time. I'm a bit of a talker, so I better hurry up. What I would say is, sometimes I've found that some of my mentees kind of just want to come on the call and talk to me and ask me questions. probably because they feel too vulnerable to take themselves, but that's really where the learning is. So make sure that the mentor you're working with is good at doing that analysis and review of your tapes and able to tell you if you're going for credential, will it meet the criteria? You can also use the time with your mentor to do a deep dive into any of the ethical situations or the new core competencies to understand those better. You can also use the time to reflect on real life incidences and dilemmas that you're encountering in your coaching practice. And they should also be able to tell you very clearly what you need to do in terms of the requirements for credentialing, because they do change. They are updated about every 2 years. So you need a mentor coach that can help you navigate that and the uploads and the downloads. And sometimes that part of it, the tech part of it, can be a bit intimidating. So the second reflective practice key, I think, is all around supervision. And, you know, it is supervision. It's giving you 20/20 eyesight in terms of yourself. So how does it change or compare to mentor coaching? I like to think that in mentor coaching, you're looking at your craft, you're looking at your competencies. In supervision, you're looking more at your inner world. You're looking at your own biases, your own emotional world, your own inner critics, your own self-limiting beliefs. So it's much more about you in the relationship. And again, you know, it's important to find a supervisor that you have chemistry with and one that is fully qualified, etc. And it is so helpful to explore your own beliefs, assumptions, and biases. And that is part of competency number 2 as well. We're kind of required to keep ourselves clear. And I know working in organizations, I'm sure many of you on the call work in organizations, and there's a lot of ethical stuff going on. You can be embroiled if you don't have your agreements straight, for instance. You can find yourself on shaky territory. Now, you can also work that with your mentor coach, but you can also maybe talk about some of the deeper stuff that comes up about that with your supervisor. For instance, I had a time when I know maybe 5 years ago when my mom died. Lord rest her. Now, she was a great age, but I still missed her terribly. And I was coaching a client at the time that was experiencing a lot of loss in their own lives, different kinds of loss, but they had had a lot of loss. And my supervisor, I had noticed that when I was with that client, I kept sighing. And the sighing seemed at the time in response to what the client was saying. But actually what I was doing, it was parallel process. And I needed the supervisor to say to me, you know, Linda, you need to deal with your mom's death. You need to go away and do that work yourself, because it can get in the way of how you're hearing a client with a similar issue. So this is just that you can work with supervisors in all kinds of ways, particularly for team coaching. And, you know, it's part of the team coaching, new team coaching competencies that we have a supervisor, because there you're dealing with so many different personalities, so many dynamics in the situation. And you may have preferences, or you may listen to some people more than others, for instance, or you may find that some people trigger a certain response in you. And it's very good to unpack that with your supervisor. I think the other way of doing reflective practice is through things like journaling. Do you do your morning pages, for instance? Sometimes just waking up and doing free form writing for a couple of minutes. And then after 3-4 weeks, going back and reading what's coming up for you. Very, very powerful. Also, maybe after coaching sessions, having a little notebook with you or maybe do it on your phone. I'm an old-fashioned person. I like the notebook and the pen. Just jot down what came up for you that day as you were coaching. What seemed to work? What didn't? What have you questions about? What are you curious about? Listening to your own recordings is probably one of the best reflective things you can ever do. It is so powerful to listen back, and I still do this every so often, even though I'm not applying. I don't need a tape. I will still, with clients that will allow it, tape just for my own benefit. Be mindful. We all are aware of the power of mindful practice and meditation, and actively seeking feedback and evaluation from our clients and our client's client. So how do you go about that? How do you harvest that data, and how do you integrate that into your practice? Things like 360s and psychometrics, also very helpful. And again, I'm one of these people. I never offer a tool to my client that I wouldn't have used on myself. And when I train coaches, I emphasize that if you have to put it on yourself first, you have to feel it and experience this feedback mechanism assessment tool for yourself before you try it with anyone else. So there's some of the ways. Now, let me just, let me finish on this, and then I might put on some of my demos. The other then, the fourth way, so we, how are we going to hone our mastery? Through reflective practice, through mentor coaching, regular supervision, regular time out like mindfulness, journaling, etc. And of course, the continuing professional development. So we know at a minimum, we need 40 CCs when we go to renew our credentials every 3 years. It's important that you pick the right learning and development. Coming to webinars like this, I know we have one core competency going with this today. You can gain a lot of CPD through different ways. Peer coaching, the reciprocal peer coaching program is excellent. That's available through ICF. You pay $50. You're paired with a coach internationally, and you do 6 sessions with them. And again, great learning, great feedback. The communities of practice, again, this is part of your membership fee with ICF, and not a lot of people know that there are 13 or 14 communities of practice on specialist areas like coaching in government, team coaching, wellness coaching, and you can join up for those and you'll get on their list, and they have monthly calls, and you get free CCEs through your communities of practice. I'm not sure if any of you maybe in the chat say if you're in any of those or what you've found, and if there's any one of those that you would recommend. I think volunteering in the ICF or other coaching bodies, there's others, great, and also maybe even doing pro bono coaching through your local chapter. All of those volunteering things are really great learning as well. And the fact I find actually networking with other coaches so often as I do through the ICF board is that I'm staying up to date with what's going on in the industry. You're hearing really great information that you wouldn't hear on your own. And sort of knowing that you need that balance of core competency type development and maybe the broader, what they call resource development. Some of you may have gone to Converge a month ago. Did anybody attend the first online ICF Converge? A very good program over 3 days. We had 2,000 delegates for that, which was the biggest ever number we had. And in a funny way, again, I think having it online was such a great help. So one of the things that when we reach mastery, and it doesn't matter what level, we can be masters of the ACC, we can be masters of the PCC. So whatever level it is, you feel that sense of unconscious competence. And I love Fran Fisher, one of my favorite MCCs from the States. And it's just being in flow. You know, that experience, that's how you know you are getting to mastery, where it suddenly seems easier, in a way, easier and more flowing, more intuitive. You're coming out of your head, you're being present in competency number 5. Now, I'll just stop before I play the demos and just see if there's any questions for me. Any questions?
Well, right now, I don't see any in the chat so far. So I think everybody is just engaged. Oh, wait a minute. We have something that just came up. Oh, if we have to unlearn, what would be the point of learning PCC?
Yeah.
Might as well learn properly MCC way. Ha.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I think it's just reinvention. You know, when you think of how you were at ACC and then how you were at PCC and then how you are at MCC and beyond, like MCC is not the end. And I often say to people, you know, yes, I am proud that I stuck at it and got my MCC, but you know, deep down, you're only as good as your last coaching session. And you know, when we submit our 2 recordings for review, it's saying, I mean, any qualification says, yes, you met the standard on those 2 occasions. So don't get too big for your boots. You know, we're always on the journey. But I do think it's not saying that each level, that anything is wrong at each level. But I think as we move, we will bring some of the things with us, but we will let go of other things so we can bring in new skills. I would say for me, what did I need to do more of? I certainly needed to do much more contracting, much deeper, designing the agreement, giving myself plenty of time. That was a biggie for me. The other thing for me was going for the thing beneath the thing, as my Texan mentor used to say, the thing beneath the thing. She had a fabulous Texan drawl, you know that, Franda. And you know, it was not to be afraid. And some people would say, oh, I can't, oh, the drama, what will I do if they cry? And I haven't enough time. And if I go there now and I have to wrap up, actually what you just learn is to trust the process. So there is always a thing beneath the thing, and that's at mastery what you have to get to. And then I think the third thing for me that changed was, people would have said in the past, I'm naturally very empathetic and I'm naturally a great listener. And so when people were talking and coaching before, I would often reflect what I heard, you know, just hold the space and reflect. And one of the things I had to learn to do was get in there with more questions, be more incisive. No need for the reflection, but actually ask that question that's going to rattle their world in some way, in a safe way, and will move them forward. So they were 3 biggies that I actually changed fundamentally when I started on the mastery level. And I think it has given me much better outcomes with the clients, those 3 things, but it will be slightly different for everybody. It's personal.
So Dimitri has asked another question, but it's fairly long. So we'll go ahead and move on and then come back to this one in the end, because it's about getting coaching hours and all of that. So we'll come back to your question, Dimitri, if that's okay with you. All right, go ahead.
And Dimitri, if we run out of time, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Everybody, and you know my name there, just connect with me on LinkedIn. So let me just share this audio. I think it's about 7 or 8 minutes. It's only audio. And in this, I am coaching. It's a midsection. It's the midsection of a demo, of about a 30-minute demo. I'd never met this gentleman before. He's a talker. He's an interesting client. He does a lot of talking. So what I want you to just listen and see what you notice about how I work with this client. Okay, let me just see.
That's where I want to kind of focus on.
You know, the word that comes up for me when I'm listening to you is passion.
Yeah. Yeah, so I always believe in this, Linda, and it's amazing that this word has come to you. So in the Indian tradition, there is a book called the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's a very famous book on yoga. Okay. And one of the aphorisms there is, so the teacher there, says that what is the secret to happiness? And the secret, according to him, is have a high goal and work passionately towards it, right? And I really believe in that, because passion in the present moment gives a lot of happiness, irrespective of what results it gives you. The whole energy piece and the whole desire to do something, the flow that it puts you in, for me, a lot of happiness comes from there.
And what role do you think passion will play in your new venture?
My new venture is about my passion. It is just my desire to. Okay, so see, I was really bored of dividing work and passion. So this is my work, and I'm going to work till 5, and then after 5, I'm going to do what I'm passionate about, right? And that's a very artificial division for me. I don't like it. The whole thing for me about entrepreneurship is also about passion. Look, I like to create organizations. I like to create value. I like to create something that people enjoy. I like to contribute to people's lives. And as an employee, you have a lot of limitations on doing that. And that's where that's where the whole passion piece comes in. And I'm doing this for my passion.
And as you step into your new enterprise,
yeah,
how can you bring more passion into that?
Linda, I think the passion is there. How can I bring more passion into it is a question that I haven't honestly thought about. One of the ways in which I'm striving to do that is by bringing in a piece of contribution there, as we spoke earlier briefly. Because money is not something that really ties me. I mean, it's important. It's really important, and I've kind of figured that out now. Earlier, I used to be like, oh, money is not important, and it's all materialistic and stuff like that. But I've kind of come to figure out that's not true. But something that really drives me is contribution. Passion and contribution for me are very closely tied. If I see that my work is going to benefit somebody else, I become really passionate for it. And very recently, I have figured out that, like, earlier I used to think it comes from a space of compassion and selflessness. But I've actually realized recently that it also comes from a space of the need for creating an impact, the need for recognition, which I'm fine with. I'm okay with that. If it's come to my awareness, I'm happy about it. Because again, that's who I am, right? But it's important to me. Contribution is extremely important. So passion and contribution are very closely tied with my life. And anything that I do, if I'm able to bring in that piece of contribution there, suddenly my passion for that intervention or that work suddenly goes up. My energy goes up, my passion goes up, my involvement goes up.
Yeah. And when I say the word focus to you, where does you go?
Sorry?
When I say the word focus to you, where does the energy go?
So, if we look at energy and focus, Linda, I think that because of lack of focus, my energy gets dissipated, right? And it works against me. It's okay if it doesn't have a cost to it, right? But now it has a cost to it, and it's not only financial cost. It is my time, my energy, my life, my money, everything, right? So for me, the balance, for me, it's energy and focus have to be in balance. If there's too much of focus, I lose my energy. Like focus as if there's a lot of monotony, I lose my energy. And if there are too many activities, again I lose my energy, right? So for me to find that exact balance of energy, optimizing, it's like the optimization problem that you learn in statistics,
Yeah.
How do you optimize the energy with the constraints that you have? Yeah. So I think it's about that.
Yeah.
It's also to do with passion, because again, the energy and passion are also related. There are many things I'm passionate about, but I just don't find the energy there because I'm doing 10 things, right? So I think what's coming up for me now is that passion, energy, and focus, right? Kind of these are the three spaces that are kind of opening up for me, right, as we talk about.
Yeah. It's kind of coming up like a magic triangle.
Yeah.
As you say, focus, passion, energy, and then you even brought the word balance back in.
Yeah, I think at the center of it is again. So I think this whole triangle exists within the circumference of balance, right? It is inside, because within that balance, these three are in their optimal condition. The moment the outer circle gets skewed, the moment the boundaries of the outer circle start expanding, these elements start losing value. So, and at the center of it, I think, is the contribution, which is the heart of it.
Wow. You've created a lovely model, like a mental model for yourself.
Yeah, let me quickly note it down.
Take your time.
Yes.
Wow. As you reflect maybe on that, what does it suggest to you is your direction now?
Sorry, I missed you in the last.
Just as you reflect on that visual model, what does it suggest to you that is your direction?
Mm-hmm. I think I am as far as these different elements of this model are concerned. Let's start with the centerpiece. Right? Contribution is something that I'm clear about. I know what I want to do and how I want to contribute. There are certain areas that I'm really passionate about and I want to work with. I know what gives me energy. I know what I'm passionate about, and I know what allows me to focus and what stops me from focusing, right? And I also know that I need to do certain things to even deepen my attention and focus, and I'm already working on that. So I think the direction is all about that balance, which is the outer self. Maybe if I can, it's like I've been juggling all these three balls at different points in my life, and once in a while one of these keep falling down, and it's fine. I just pick it up and I start working again. But I think if I'm able to find that consistency in figuring out how to balance these three well and make them work at the optimal level, that's where I think that's the direction. That's the direction.
Brilliant.
Okay, so that was just a midsection from a coaching session. And what was really interesting to me was how the client, I was the thought partner simply for that client, and how they were able to figure out what they needed in order to move forward with their new enterprise. And that was originally a video, but the quality of the video was so bad, I made it into an audio. But when I watched the video, it was interesting that before the client had said it's a triangle. No, it was, I think I said it's like a triangle. And then when I played it back, the client earlier had done this with his fingers. And consciously, I never noticed that. I never noticed that he did the points of a triangle as he was processing. And it was very interesting to me that when we're fully present, what actually we kind of absorb. And that model was, he contacted me afterwards and said it was a breakthrough for him in terms of he had been stuck in moving the enterprise forward, and it somehow really resonated with him. Here are some of the questions that, and again, you probably saw there was a lot of holding space, a lot of listening and letting him process himself. So sometimes, as coach, we don't have to have too many clever questions, too many interesting questions, but getting that ability to get to the nub of it is key. Any observations or questions people would have on that?
You do have some questions from Dimitri. Let's see. I'll just go to what he's talking about as far as this session is concerned. So how do you ask a client if it's okay to record him, especially since so many don't want recordings to be done? Since you've had many recordings, you must have some way that you put it across.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think I would need to have a solid relationship with that client, that I would have built up trust over time, and that I would make it very clear that it was for my benefit, that the recording, I'm not forcing them. It's very much in their bailiwick whether they want to say yes or no, but it's for my benefit, my growth and development. Assure them of confidentiality as to where that recording would go, that it would only be with my mentor coach or possibly with the ICF when I was doing my MCC, and see how it goes. It's a funny thing, most clients, once they've agreed, they forget, and even the coach forgets that the recording is there. The other way, maybe, Dimitri, you can, is with some of my clients that I already had a very established relationship with, I did offer them, say, 2 or 3 pro bono sessions on the basis that they would allow me tape. You don't have to do that, but with some I did.
Well, actually, I'm going for my MCC, and that is exactly what I'm doing as well, because I feel like that gives them that space, that they know that I'm doing it for this reason, and at the same time, we're sharing together. So you have another question here. What does not having a question say about me as a participant?
I love it.
That's a great question.
Yeah. And I guess the coaching answer is, well, I'm curious about that. Tell me more.
That's such a great question. I love the way that you said that, Kamal Deep. And I think that maybe you are reflecting, and which is really awesome. Anu says, I love the triangle piece you shared. Good representation of listening for what is not said or said non-verbally. Thanks. Aaliyah says, do you always dig deeper on all the words they emphasize if there are more than 2 or 3 words?
I don't think there's a formula, you know, Franda. I did what I did in that moment with that client, and it seemed to work for them, you know. Maybe in a different situation with a different client in a different moment, I'd go in a different direction. But I think what I would say is we do know that when we mirror a client's language, maybe not as much as I did in that case, but when we do mirror it, it creates much more psychological safety. And the client kind of allows themselves to be more vulnerable to you. And it's in that vulnerability that they're going to, you know, expand. Yeah.
So do you want to go forward, or would you like to take a verbal, because we have a hand raised. So I just want to know how you would like to handle that.
Yes, let's hear that, because I think we're coming towards the end of the time.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there was another, but we're not going to have time for that. That's fine. I'll just finish up with that. Oh, there's a nice photo of us in action. And I actually, can I do a shout out? I know Lana Morad is in one of those photos there. She's online. And I know a prior student of mine, Susan Mackey. Hi, Susan. And also
that's awesome.
Marina, one of Jakovich, one of my colleagues, MCCs, hi to her too, over in Australia now. We all remember Marina fondly. We miss her in the UAE.
Yes, and she does the microloan program as well. Yes. All right, so I'm going to allow Fuad. I hope, sorry if I did not pronounce your name correctly.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead and ask your question to Linda.
Okay, I will not take a lot of time. I just want to, I was here listening to this session. I realized something, please.
Fuad, your audio doesn't seem to be working. You seem miles and miles away.
Better? Is it better now?
Not really.
Not really.
Okay, it's better now?
Yes.
Great, perfect. Yeah, I realized something, you know, before most of the coaches that I know, they were saying, okay, I used to be a very good listener. I used to be, all my friends used to talk to me. They like to talk to me and be with me. And I used to be I am one of those coaches. And after doing coaching and started coaching and doing a lot of sessions, I realized that I still listen the same way I used to do with my friends, but now I know how to listen more. I know what to ask exactly, and I know how to be one with them. And I just want to say in one of the slides, you were saying to be one, to listen, being really, and to have this empathy and to have the same feeling that we used to have with our friends. I have it now, but now I know how to react. Now I know how to act and react. And I didn't understand why I sat for asking for 100 sessions. But when I started doing more sessions and more sessions, I started realizing, okay, I have to get back to this thing that I have, which is amazing, but now I can master it and I can listen more. And how to ask a question and how to know what to ask, it comes step by step with me. It's coming step by step. And I start to kind of not analyze, but summarize what the client is saying. Analyzing, I used to analyze, and this was wrong. But now I'm summarizing, kind of summarizing, and just taking the most important thing and asking the client about it. And that's how I'm really making a good progress with my sessions, session after session. Thank you.
Thanks, Fuad. You know, and like what your story is, I think many of us are attracted to coaching because perhaps we were natural empaths and good listeners. And I think then what we realize is that this is part of a core competency model, you know, that we're 4, 5, and 6. We're doing the empathy, we're doing the listening, and we're doing the presence, and how to maybe move that into a coaching space. So lovely. Thank you. I see a question here. Someone said, we were told PCC talks about 20% of the time and MCC talks about 5% of the time. I may be wrong, but it seemed useful more than that. Is there some clarity on this point you could share? That's interesting. I've never heard that. I've never heard those stats. I think it's about talking much less than the client, whatever percentage you'd want to put on it. Yeah.
Well, we are coming to the end of our time together. George, you may not realize it, but you're actually only sending your messages to me. So Linda cannot see what you just wrote, but I'll read it to her for you. You said thank you to her. Okay, and excellent presentation, which is crisp, but with all good content. So thank you so much, George, for that.
Welcome.
So Linda, any final words before we start to go ahead and log out?
No, just thank you all for this opportunity to connect with you, to connect and learn from fellow coaches. And, you know, together we're stronger. We're becoming a movement, and we can change this world. We can kick ass. Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Great to be with you all.
It's so nice to have you, Linda, and just really very, very awesome presentation. So those of you that have questions for Linda, you see her email here. You can also contact her on LinkedIn. For those of you that were looking and wanting to know about the slides and the videos and all of that, which is awesome. We're glad that you're connected. Just check our website and also on LinkedIn and our YouTube and our Facebook and all of that social media stuff. I'm like Linda, I still use notebooks, so I don't go through all of that, but you can find us everywhere because we are live on Facebook as well as it being on YouTube. And you'll also get an email in 1 week that will actually have the points of this video as well. So listen, thank you all for joining us. I know we've gone over the time. I appreciate those of you that were able to stay, and just know every one of you want to come back next week because our guest is going to be the owner and founder of Coach Transformation Academy, Dr. Harris Saeed. So I am looking forward to being his host. And I hope that all of you will join us next week. So thank you so much for being here, and we will see you next week.
Thank you, Franda. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
See you next week. Take care. Bye.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.